Parry Talks. Welcome back. I think this is episode 21, so happy 21st to the Parry Talks podcast. It's a special one. Again, if you watched last week's episode, I said at the start, this is someone that at the start of the podcast, I made a long list of people that deserve to get their story told. And it'd be like, if I can tell these people's stories, it'd be a dream. So I went back through that list now that I did have an extra bit of spare time because of all the Corona thing. And I sort of reflected back on a lot of the conversations I already had with some of my friends already and some of the recommendations they put forward. And in the Honey Point episode of Parry Talks, those girls made it very clear and very explicit whose story deserves to be told. And that is the one, the only King, Ayebatonye. How are you today?
I'm all right. How are you? Shout out to the Honey Point girls. You guys are amazing.
Yes.
Love them.
I think I always throw around the term friends of the show, but they are the highest tier of friends of the show.
I love that. Yes.
Just want to start a bit more broad. How are you coping with the whole isolation thing? And sort of just any tips or anything that you found effective that's keeping you present in what seems to be, such a weird existential sort of time.
Yeah, it's a very strange time. To be honest, I'm just going to be really honest. I feel like I've kind of been going on a loop. I feel that my journey with COVID-19 has not been linear in the sense of trying to understand my emotions and dealing. To be completely frank, I love being at home generally. I'm quite a homebody, and even when before lockdown, I was home most of the time if I didn't have to be out. So in terms of the isolation side of things, I think I'm fine with that. I think it's just more everything else that's sort of come as a byproduct of lockdown and COVID that I've been more affected by. And I think that I've been coping with that by trying lots of different things. I tried the exercise route. I bought all of this home gym equipment because I'm afraid to go running. Yes. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm not alone. Got my jump rope, got all of this shit, got a soccer ball because I used to play soccer, so I'm going to kick it around and get back into that. I've been trying to make music, DJing a lot, watching a lot of TV shows, crying sometimes. We're going everywhere. These are the things that I do to cope. They might work for you as well. I don't know.
I did the whole, I want to exercise a bit more, so I need clothes to properly exercise in, so I should buy some clothes to exercise in. And then I ended up just exercising in my casual clothes because I felt more comfortable in it anyway, so now they're just doing nothing. So another one as well, I don't know if you reflect, it's almost the same level of crying in terms of just letting it out. A hot shower, absolutely insane. Don't even get me started on when I'm fully stressed or I'm preparing for something and it's stressing me out. Sit in the shower for 10 minutes. That'll reevaluate your life.
It's a good feeling. I do love a hot shower, but I feel like I love the hot shower and then I end with it really cold, just to jolt you up. Do you do that? Is that a part of your routine or process?
We started off just cruising here in terms of our likeness, but we've detoured now. Let's get a bit more serious with it. I think a big and I think a very big positive of this whole COVID-19 situation, especially in Australia, I see it being us being massive innovators, is in the live stream format. And of course, with the LAN parties and Irregular Fit, it's obviously such a cool and special thing that you are doing. I just wanted you to talk through the process of setting up that first one in that backyard, or was it a backyard? And just your thoughts and initial ideas behind setting that one up.
Yeah, so LAN Party is run by Irregular Fit and Anti Collective. And we sort of ran that first live stream. I guess I was a bit personally, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone in the crew, but I personally was kind of off the fact that my boiler room had been postponed because of COVID. So it actually, we were let's just have a fun time because we'd all been planning to hang out and party together anyways. But we're let's set up a live stream event. It doesn't seem that hard. It was a lot harder than we thought it would be, But yeah, it seemed like fairly doable. We just did it in one of the crew's backyards. Um, and yeah, it was a vibe. It was cool. I'm glad that we did that.
Yeah, and I think that one of the more difficult things, mainly from the consumer point of view for the clubs, is like clubs are like multi, how do I say it? Not multimedia, but like like then it's not just sound and visual. Like there's so many other elements to a club that are so important. And
Mm.
I don't know if you took a conscious effort to like try achieve that, but the regular fit the LAN party live streams aren't just, you know, a visual background with the DJ. There's a lot more to it with the green screen and all that sort of thing. So like throughout the whole process of them, what do you think you've learned in terms of what it takes to throw a good club live stream throughout the whole process of it?
I think like both me like and everyone else that's been doing these live streams with me, we've all learned like a significant amount. So I don't know how much you know about like Twitch, the gaming app that was sort of, well,
Yeah.
you probably do, you've seen the live streams. I had no idea what that was before the beginning of March. Like I'd never heard of it. I've
Mm.
never used it. I'd never used a green screen before. um yeah, it's been a real journey, but it's also been really exciting learning how to use all of this like equipment that I have had no idea about. I think that it's been a huge process. It's been a learning curve. I've been calling myself an e-girl now because I know how to do things on the internet, but I'm really not. I think that with the aesthetic, I'm really into like Windows 97, so like vaporwave shit sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And we just sort of wanted to make sure that with the progression of our live streams, there were ways that we could make it a bit more engaging than just having a DJ play to you, because like obviously it's a whole different experience. Like sort of like touching on what you said before about when you go to the club, it's an entire experience. We kind of wanted to mirror that in the way that we presented live streams, because we think it's important for people to feel like they're sort of somewhere else, like you're not just
Mm.
at home in your living room or in your bedroom listening to music. Like there's something a bit more engaging and interactive to what you're sort of taking in.
Yeah, exactly. And having the live streams with sort of Anti and with the regular fit as, you know, community based like um projects with, you know, strong ethoses and vision statements as well, and bringing that to the live stream space sort of engages that community side of club music through the live stream, instead of it being like, oh, we're just like this promoter that we do shows anyway, but we're just going to put all the DJs we normally book in on a live stream.
Mm.
But instead there's obviously that community element as well, which you guys can definitely lean on, which does also add to that community space online too, which is super important as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like centering DJs of color and especially emerging DJs, I think one of the biggest pros of us live streaming has been like DJs, some of whom came through the Irregular Fit DJ workshop program, who learned how to DJ and then played one live gig, and then all of a sudden everything was sort of shut. They've been given this new experience where they're learning how to engage with audiences online, and they're like forming their own new audiences, like both T-Rad and Red Ray playing COVID Room, which is like an Italian-based collectives live stream, as well as Room to Radio. I think that this experience has, yeah, I think it's definitely fostered more community, but it's also just given emerging DJs of color a chance to actually play, because it can be quite hard to have those opportunities when we are going to clubs in real life
Exactly.
and trying to get gigs. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's brilliant. And I think that an important thing, and I'm trying to make this point as clear and loud as possible in everything I've done, is like this sort of innovation in the live stream space of DJ sets has to stay and is going to stay, just because of there's so much, like so many accessibility issues, of course, in clubs.
Absolutely.
Not just for physically disabled people, but also like clubs are very intimidating spaces for a lot of people as well. So it's as a silver lining, it's almost like it's cool to see that there's like that through sort of like a hardship somewhere else, like a lot of positives come out, where there's like a lot of positive long-term change that's probably hopefully going to be seen in our underground culture at least. So I don't know if you agree with that, and like if you just wanted to add to that as well.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I think one of the biggest pros of having, yeah, live streams is the fact that we're able to create more accessibility within a lot of communities. And like you said, not just people that have disabilities, but also like people who maybe are very gender identities and don't feel comfortable going to certain clubs for whatever reason, or for a lot of like BIPOC folk, like a lot of people don't feel generally comfortable going to certain spaces if there's like they're going to be predominantly inhabited by the dominant culture. And I feel that in Australia specifically, genres like techno and like more electronic music generally do have a sort of dominant culture there, and it generally sort of is not people of color, especially, do you not understand
I know
what I'm
exactly
saying
what
when
you're
I
talking about.
say that? Yeah. So I think that it's really exciting for that very reason to have a space online where we can sort of create community and find people that maybe we wouldn't have had access to before. And another barrier is also cost. Like a lot of people don't
Yeah.
go out because they can't afford to, and Sydney's quite expensive. So yeah, it's sort of a way to sort of counter that and still bring the club to people. I think that one of the barriers of the internet though, and something that I think I'm still trying to navigate and understand, is that like understanding that not everyone has the internet first off, so there's still a lot of people that maybe we're not able to reach, and also the fact that yeah, like with online spaces you still have like safety is still not guaranteed online.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to find ways to counter like cyber violence online is interesting. I think we've been really lucky thus far. We haven't experienced anything like that, but I feel that as like I try to keep my eye out and look for resources and ways to make sure that we can avoid that full stop. Yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of challenges within that space. But yeah, I think the pros, accessibility is great, and it's cool that there are more people that can now
Yeah.
see things that maybe, or like experience the club when they haven't been able to experience the club
Definitely. And there's obviously, I want to unpack a lot of that and go into a lot of it, but my sort of
before.
first initial reaction to the start of your statement was, especially in Sydney, at least from my sort of perspective and relating on my friends' experience that aren't necessarily in our underground dance scene, um, it is like, even though in our culture it's very progressive thought, it's very open arms. Like if you think about a lot of the cool DIY parties that get thrown, a lot of the Irregular Fit parties, that sort of thing, we do exist in such a bubble. It feels like sometimes where even though we might see our friends and our promoters doing some really cool things in a progressive way,
Mm,
it is super barred off and super hard to find. We actually have to have a proper ear to the ground and properly be looking out for that
absolutely.
sort of stuff because of how niche it is. But I feel like,
Like, can I
because
say something to that? Oh, sorry, you go.
I wasn't going to say
I was just
anything too
gonna
significant.
say, sorry to cut you off.
So good.
I was just gonna say, like even the thought. To be honest, I question progressive spaces as well. Like I have a critical eye to everything, including my own work,
Mm,
constantly, because I think that sometimes the danger with progressive spaces is that they're still not that as inclusive as they want to be, and
hmm.
and there's many reasons for that, and like sometimes it's more about like I think we have to think about power structures, right? We have to think about power dynamics. We have to think about even the people that are running these progressive parties, like who isn't running these
Mm,
parties? What's their lived experiences? So I feel that in many ways, there's a lot of progressive spaces that there's still BIPOC that wouldn't feel comfortable going to said
exactly.
spaces. So I think that's something. I just want to throw that out there.
No,
But
I totally agree as well.
yeah,
And I was just going to I was summing up the point. It's like having you on ABC, having the Room 2 radio crew going like completely viral and that sort of thing.
yeah,
Like it's showing a lot of people that there are spaces that do exist, and that now going forward, because of the whole live stream innovation, that there's going to be heaps better places and heaps more accessible places for a lot more people, because of the visibility of our scene at the moment is really high. So a lot of people doing really important things because of that.
yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that.
Sick. Um, Wow. And this is why, and if anyone's listening out there that wants to get into journalism or anything, you prepare questions and points, but don't just go off the script, because like you miss beautiful conversations like that. And sort of going back to it, sort of a bit more overarching, if I tried to, and it's rude to do this, but if I was trying to sort of sum up all your work into one sentence, I'd try make it sound something like you want to sort of empower people that don't get a voice but deserve a voice through your programming, like minorities in all facets of society. And I think it's super interesting, and I've seen this over and over a couple of times. It's just, why is dance music and DJing, do you think, such a useful medium for inclusivity?
Mm. I think that, oh, I feel like that's a good question. I feel that it's like, this is probably going to sound like super cheesy, but you know, like, music is a shared passion of a lot of people. I think dance music, especially, can be like kind of like an escape of sorts. Like, that's the way that I personally experience dance music. I find that there's this sort of place that it takes me that, well, music generally, but dance music especially, takes me sort of to this like euphoric, elevated space. So I feel like it's a perfect place to sort of bring people together of different lived experiences and try to create some sort of mutual connection. That's why I feel that it's the perfect space for inclusivity. Also thinking about the history of what
Mm-hmm.
dance music is, and I feel that we should never forget like the Black, the queer, like pioneers of this whole like genre of music that we now all love so much. I feel that that for many people is also a big connection point for them with their love of dance music specifically. So I feel that all like there's all of us, and we all have different things that bring us to this genre, but the one thing that we all have in common is that we love it. So why not use that as a space to sort of celebrate our commonalities, and maybe try to learn each other's differences in a really respectful way. And if you don't know something, always Google it. But you know,
Yeah.
learning each other's differences in a respectful manner. That even makes sense. Sometimes I'm just like, I
Yeah,
go
it
on a
does. It does.
tangent and it just goes somewhere.
I usually tell my guests, and like a lot of people will finish recording or whatever, and everyone will be like, I have no idea what I just spoke about for an hour. And yeah, the more you feel that is typically the better an interview goes. Because if you're just like, oh, I've said this stuff 1,000 times, blah blah blah, it's like, that's a pretty poor podcast in my opinion. But if people start like
Okay.
left, right, and center, if it's like, what did I even say at all? Then that's the better sign.
That's
That's as good a sign as it gets. So please don't
okay.
stress
That's
about
good.
that. Yeah, and I think just adding to your point, just the way dance music is constructed, and the way that as a culture it's constructed, it's probably the most community focused sort of genre of music, I think, by
Mm,
default, almost just by the way it's easiest to engage with, and that is with other people. And from that as well, a lot of comfort, and obviously social settings as well. There's a lot to go into there, but it just, like, as a community force, I think it's so strong. And I think that's why a lot of people feel comfortable engaging with it, because it feels like a very level playing field. And I
yeah,
really
for
like
sure.
the example of and I was like thinking about the biggest songs on a night out at a dance event aren't always the ones that everyone knows. Whereas, like, if something just works,
Mm,
it works. And there's sort of like that level playing field to that, where, like, if you're at a rap show or something, and no offense to the rap community, because that is my community pretty much first and foremost, it's like there's going to be people that know more of the songs, know all the album cuts, know this, know that. But in a dance circle, it's so much more community focused, in the sense that it's less about who you're watching and and more about the people around you.
for
I think that
sure.
brings out a lot of cool stuff as a culture anyway. Um, what about the start of your story? How did you find dance music? What are your, musical backgrounds, or musical awakenings, as I like to call it as well, in your path through this wild world of dance music?
My musical awakenings. Like, when you ask me what my musical awakenings are, do you mean like artists that sort of made me go, what? Or like
It can be
moments where I've been out, or
whatever's been most effective in molding your brain, really. I know that, like, for
okay.
me, I'm a live person, But if for some people it's like they listen to a certain song or they went to a certain party, etc., etc. That sort of open.
Yeah, wow. I never really like thought about this in depth. So that's such an interesting question. I feel like there's been many moments of my life where, like, I think one thing that both it's a blessing and a curse with even just me being a DJ is that I get drawn to a lot of different genres. And so I feel like there's been many moments within my life where I've experienced different types of dance music and I've just been like, holy shit, that was amazing. I feel that, with dance music specifically, I feel that probably, actually, I know. 16, had a fake ID, used to go to Club 77, Starfuckers, back in the day. And I remember the first time that I went there, and this was like, back when you could still smoke inside the club. It was real, just sweaty pit. It's not like 77 is now.
Yeah.
And just going there for the first time, having never experienced anything like that before. Like, I think that was the first time I'd used my fake ID in the city. And it was incredible. Like, I feel like Hooky, Mr. Disorder were playing. And it was incredible.
Yeah.
I had the time of my life. That was definitely, I feel like that would have been probably one of the key moments for me in terms of understanding dance music for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I feel like a few years later, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole when I was like, I want to know more about like the Detroit techno scene and, Jeff Mills as a gym, whatever. Like, I did that as well. And that also sort of blew my mind because, it just made me think and feel a lot of things. That's why playing with the underground musicians was like one of the most ridiculous gigs of my life because I was like, shit, like you people have done so much for me, and now I'm playing at the club opening for you, and this is fucking wild. But I feel like those two. I think also the warehouse scene in Sydney. So I've been involved with a couple of warehouses, like back in not that far back in the day, but when I was like 22, I lived at one, and then
really?
coming back from Berlin,
which? I'm not going to ask which one, but how? Like, that would have been absolutely chaos. We
It was chaos. Like, it was absolute chaos.
just to pause the story so it doesn't get too quickly. I've worked the door at a couple of them, and I remember like you just see like random people walk in and be like, you got a stamp and stuff, and like they always just turn at you and like look all grief, like I live here, like go.
Hot tip, ever want to get into a warehouse party, that's what you say.
Literally.
I'm not even gonna lie, I've definitely pulled that even after not living at warehouses. I was like, I live here. If you act disgruntled enough, they'll let you in. That's a hot tip.
Yeah, facts.
Sorry to people that live in warehouses that are watching this right now. So that I think that I feel that, to be honest though, living in warehouses made me like, a lot of people are probably going to get real pissed off at me for saying this, but made me really dislike drum and bass because there were so many drum and bass parties at my house for one period of time that I couldn't do it anymore. And then I think also another, I don't know if I call it a musical awakening, but I guess like somewhere where I learned a lot about dance music, specifically tech house and dubstep, Welt Bar, where I worked for a few years. So I feel like those have been key points. I didn't want to say like the cliche, I went to Berlin and like the techno there was wild, but I did, and it was wild. So I don't want to say that, but I have to because I learned a lot there about music for sure.
Brilliant. And how long were you say DJing for before you had the idea or concept for Irregular Fit, or how long were you in the game for before you started? Sort of had a more clear vision of what your impact wanted to be.
So I started DJing in, like, I say I officially started DJing in 2013. It's because I learned while I was working as a door bitch at World Bar. So one of the resident DJs there would teach me every week.
Mm.
But in terms of Irregular Fit, I was always doing sort of projects because like it's always weird to say professional background because I feel like DJing in a sense is also my professional background. But what I do for my day job is I work in community engagement and like development. And so I feel that throughout the time that I've been DJing and throwing events, I've always tried to combine community engagement and development and like community building with music and with art and other things. But Irregular Fit as a concept of itself didn't really come to fruition until August 2018. So sort of after I'd come back from living overseas and I'd sort of had this like what I felt was like a deeper understanding, like a more worldly view, because before that I'd never lived anywhere but Australia. But living somewhere else and understanding things in a different sort of way made me want to come back and do more projects that were really about capacity building and about like knowledge exchange and about like really building a community of like DJs of color, because before I moved away, it hadn't been something that I'd seen much here. And going away and becoming friends with all these incredible DJs of color and then coming back, I was like, I want to see more of that same shit here. Or if they are here, I want to find them and I want us all to sort of work together and collaborate. And I think I've been really lucky in finding some incredible already established DJs of color. But yeah, the Irregular Fit officially started in August 2018.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask as well, mainly from a curiosity point of view of people that I should check out or crews that I should check out. Living overseas, were there any specific crews or groups of people or DJs that you were sort of inspired by or looked at and admired?
Yeah, I think DJs that I absolutely look up to and admire. I said, do you know this Fig? She's amazing. Her music is hectic. So she's initially from New York, but now is based in Berlin. I think collectives, No Shade is an incredible collective. I think Babes, who are based out of BBZ, based out of London, are incredible. Boko Boko collective are pretty hectic. Yeah, there's so many. Oh, fuck, there's one that I wanted to. Room for Resistance. They are wild. So yeah, I can send
Sick.
you a little list of some.
Please do, and I'll put it in the bio. I love my bios.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, sorry, I've gone blank.
You're right.
Oh yeah, a really cool thing that I noticed as well is, yes, you're the founder of Irregular Fit, but there are a heap of other community leaders importantly engaging with it. So when you were assembling the team, what were you looking for? What sort of values or areas of knowledge did you feel you were lacking and you wanted to get on board as well, so you could make that overall impact?
That's a good question. I feel that in terms of finding people to work on Irregular Fit with, it was also the people with similar sort of mindset who were all really community minded, who are all looking to empower community. And I think in terms of skill sets, everyone that's working on it, they definitely do have like sort of niches. Like I feel that some of them are incredible, like workshop facilitators, or sort of know how to engage with people in a way that I lack. Like I feel that this is probably going to be a bit convoluted in the way that I say it, but I'm trying to make it make sense. I feel that I can be, because of the way that I just am as a person, I think, yeah, it's important to have people that you can sort of talk to about things who can provide a different perspective, or like kind of look at what I'm doing and be like, I'm going to add to this to make it better. I think that's what I see in everyone. Like they all have such varied skill sets, and I could spend like a really extensive amount of time talking about their incredible skill sets. But all I think, just to wrap it up so I don't go on a long tangent about nothing, I think that everyone that I sort of asked to be a part of it, the reason that I did ask them is mainly because of their love of community and their love of wanting to support and build community, as well as just their sheer talent. Like they're all just like absolute forces in themselves, and they're all doing such incredible things. like outside of Irregular Fit. Like
Yeah,
the way that it sort of works is that they collaborate on specific projects, but like they do their own shit.
exactly.
Like that's amazing and that I love. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and another cool thing about Irregular Fit, which like I've paid close attention to in terms of the stuff that I might want to look to doing, is
Mm.
education is of course like a massive part of it, you know, from the DJ workshops. But I just wanted to ask what other tools like education are you also looking to use maybe further down the track and in the future to keep making change?
Yeah. So I'm really into research and data. And I guess the interesting thing about that is most recently I've been sort of like we as a regular fit had gotten some funding to do like to start coordinating some impact research. So we're going to work with a specific like I'm not going to mention them on camera, but like New South Wales based org who would have sort of not only helped us in like creating data that sort of supports the impact that communities of color make towards the arts. And that was kind of going to be, well, it still is like an open source sort of document for people to use as both an educational tool, but also as a way for them to back themselves. Um, and as part of that, we were going to do like a traineeship sort of. So somebody who wanted to do it, how do I say this properly? Somebody who is interested in learning more about how to like create really crazy, like impactful research would have sort of sat along with the org that we're working with and learned how to like helped us prepare our data, but also learn how to do it along the way. Yeah, sort of just taking a step back with that for a second, just so that we can understand data sovereignty and things like that a little more clearly. But yeah, I think that that is one of the many ways that we're trying to build education. We've been working on like an artist residency program, so we can create like mentorships between artists of color and emerging artists who like arts practitioners who might need support in becoming, I don't know, more confident artists. And like the workshops that we're running vary from DJ workshops. There's just a few things that now have been basically paused as we try to
Yeah,
recalibrate and understand how to do things digitally because of COVID-19. But there were a lot of different types of workshops planned
yeah,
for this
brilliant.
year.
Yeah, I'm so inspired by
I
that
just
stuff.
feel I feel like sometimes I just feel like such a ramble and I'm like, I get lost. And I know you said it's fine, but I'm just like, what am I even talking about now?
Um,
Oh, God.
and
So
I just
funny.
wanted to ask sort of because like, and you won't believe it, but we've been talking for nearly 40 minutes already. Um,
Really? What?
a couple of like the two sort of questions that are like my pre-prepared journalist sort of,
Okay.
you know, the really thought out questions. I just wanted to get your like overall opinion on where you think we stand as sort of an underground dance community relative to the rest of say the country or the rest of or other dance communities that you've seen socially, or you think in inclusivity or the work that you sort of do.
Mm. I think that's a really hard question, to be honest, because like it's a hard question to answer because at the end of the day, I don't know the ins and the outs of all of the different dance communities around Australia or overseas. So I feel like I can't really comment on how we stand versus how they stand. I can only
Mm,
really talk about what I know. But with talking about what I know, which is the Sydney dance scene, which I feel like I know well and can
mm,
confidently speak about, well, to an extent, confidently speak about, I feel that we do have a long way to go in terms of like I think that there is progress that's being made, and there are some incredible collectives and individuals that are doing some really great work to try to make our scene as inclusive as possible. But I think it also goes beyond inclusivity. Like I think, like I sort of mentioned or touched on before, like power. We need to think about power and the way that it's divided and who's got it in the scene and why they have it. And we need to think more about, like, if we're going to be talking about inclusivity, then we really need to think about barriers to access that people have generally. And we need to think about how we as promoters or as like party goers or whatever can counter those barriers. but I feel that it's also important to acknowledge that that can be really challenging when you have certain things that are out of our control because they are systemic. Having said that, we have to do what we can as individuals to make things as inclusive for everyone as possible, and recognize that it's not meant to be easy, and it's probably not going to be comfortable. And it means getting rid of your ego and just understanding that sometimes you just have to listen. And sometimes we do have to acknowledge that we have certain privileges, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that we have to reevaluate the way that we do things.
Awesome. And I think the favorite question that I sort of thought, and I sort of asked this to a couple of people as well that sort of work in the same or come from the same angle that you do, is pre-Irregular Fit Ayebatonye to current Ayebatonye. How has the process of starting an organization changed your views on how you present yourself as a community leader? So what have you learned as a person for yourself through the process of it all?
I don't think about myself as a community leader, so that's interesting. I think that this process, I'm still every day I feel like I'm learning things about myself. And I feel that it's been, to be quite frank, quite an arduous journey at times. Like sometimes it's been like with running Irregular Fit, there's been a lot of failure, and there's been a lot of stress, and there's been a lot of lack of sleep. And there's been a lot of times where I've questioned why I do any of the things that I do, because who am I doing it for? There's been a lot. I think that over the course of me beginning Irregular Fit to now, I've continually become more critical of the way that I engage with people, and I've tried to get better at, I guess, trying to get more feedback or asking for more feedback or trying to understand more what it is that people want rather than trying to make assumptions on their behalf of what they want. And I think I'm still learning that. And yeah, I think there's a lot that I'm learning. I feel like I could answer this question forever because I'm constantly just sitting there being like, how could I be better?
Yeah.
And it's a challenge. I think that's a challenge. I feel that Irregular Fit has taught me the importance of getting better at communicating, because I think sometimes I'm not great at communicating. I sort of just get overwhelmed and drop off the face of the earth for a little while. But I think it's taught me to try to learn ways to be better with communicating with different types of people. It's taught me a lot more business acumen, because I've had to learn all of this businessy stuff that I had no idea about before. And it's introduced me to all of these incredible just people of all different sort of lived experiences, and sort of allowed me experiences like traveling overseas and speaking at a conference on behalf of the Irregular Fit. It's been a wild journey, but I feel that it's taught me the importance of always trying to not humble yourself, I guess humble yourself in a way, but always trying to make sure that that there's always room for improvement. That's not to say that what I'm doing is bad, but I think there's always space to grow, and there's always needs that need to be met. And I guess maybe some people might say that's an interesting way to think, because then it kind of never ends. But I think that's also the point.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Supposed to end. Yeah, exactly. So it's been a journey, to say the least.
Beautiful. And I should have warned you about the next questions, because this is usually where the awkward silence comes from in all my interviews.
Okay.
And don't be scared. At the first one, and I ask this everyone, do you have a favorite mix or a favorite boiler room, or just a go-to mix that you just everyone can't miss? Or that no one should miss, I think is a better way to say that.
Yeah, no, that I go into it. I wish I had my phone. I'm trying to remember the name of the DJ right now, but there's one that I've been. I wish I remembered the name. It's on Radiant Love's SoundCloud. It was. I wouldn't say it's my favorite mix of all time, because I've just only recently heard it, but I've been listening to it a lot.
See if you can find it. Radiant Love.
Wait, I'm gonna see.
See, I told you, everyone.
Who is it? Oh yeah, that's a red hot question because I feel like I have so many favorite mixes. Like,
There's
uh,
THC is one of
yeah,
them.
it's THC
Yeah,
live at Radiant Love. I
yeah,
really love that mix.
beautiful.
I've
That's good.
definitely been rinsing that a lot. Also like Merve's boiler room set at Pitch.
Mm,
I absolutely love that.
yeah,
I also love Jennifer Loveless's boiler room set. Like yeah. I think also oh, Bambi, and she did a boiler room in Toronto. I can't remember what year. That was incredible as well. Um, and AG also did an incredible boiler room set. So I have a few that I kind of just sort of like go through on a
nice.
loop when I feel like it. Yeah.
And then the final question, a bit easier. You just have to neck nominate. It's the best way to say it. Neck nominate someone else to come on this show. Who you think deserves their story told? Who would be great to have on, in your opinion?
Okay. Who do I think would be great to have on? I think someone that could be really interesting to have on because I feel like she does a lot of community work is Marasia. You know, Marasia,
I'm unaware,
the
but
DJ, mother of House of Kiki House of Silky.
I'm on it.
Yeah, she's a vibe and she's such a fun time, but she's also great. She's very sweet.
Beautiful.
I think she could be really cool.
Awesome. Parry Talks, episode 21. Happy 21st. Ayebatonye, thanks so much for coming on. You're a bloody legend.
Thanks for having me.
Also, as well, I forgot to say, I say this in every episode. Next time there's an Irregular Fit party after all this passes and we're in real life, if someone finds me, taps me on the shoulder and quotes this interview, then I will get them 2 drinks instantly.
Wow.
Thanks so much for
Yes,
listening.
I love that.
And you can't do it. So it doesn't count
Okay.
for you.
Damn.
Have a great rest of your day.